You know how sometimes you're reading a story or watching a movie and some little detail just jumps out at you? Something that feels a little too specific to be random? Well, today we're diving into one of the oldest, most fascinating numerical mysteries I've ever come across. It's been hiding in plain sight for 2,000 years, the secret of the 153 fish.
Okay, so let's set the scene. The story comes from the Gospel of John. Picture this. It's dawn on the Sea of Galilee. Jesus' disciples, who are expert fishermen, by the way, have been out on the water all night long and have caught absolutely nothing. Zero. They're exhausted, they're frustrated, and they're ready to call it a day. Then, some guy on the shore yells out, tells them to try casting their net on the other side of the boat. They do it, probably rolling their eyes, and wham! The net is suddenly so full of fish, they literally can't even haul it in.
Now what's interesting is this isn't the only big fishing story in the Gospels. There's an earlier one in the book of Luke where they catch a great number of fish and the net actually starts to break under the strain. But here, in John's version, the author is incredibly precise. He tells us there were exactly 153 large fish, and then he adds another specific detail. The net didn't tear. This isn't just a different telling, it's a deliberate, specific clue.
And that, right there, is the heart of the mystery. Why that number? Why 153? It's just so random. It's not a round number like 100 or 150. When you see that kind of weird precision in an ancient story, it's basically a giant flashing neon sign that says, dig deeper. This number is a puzzle box, and it feels like the author just handed us the key.
And people have been trying to crack this code for a very, very long time. The earliest Christian thinkers, these brilliant minds we now call the Church Fathers, were completely captivated by this. You can think of them as the original detectives on this case, totally convinced that this wasn't just a fish count, but a symbol of something much, much bigger.
So, what did they come up with? Well, a few different ideas started floating around. St. Jerome, looking at the zoology of his day, proposed that there were exactly 153 known species of fish in the world, so the catch symbolized the mission to gather people from every single nation. Then you had St. Cyril, who saw a kind of demographic code. 100 represented the non-Jewish nations, 50 represented Israel, and the number 3 was for the Trinity, holding it all together.
But the theory that really took hold, the one that scholars still talk about today, came from the legendary St. Augustine of Hippo. He didn't just see it as a neat symbol. He looked at this number and called it a great mystery, convinced it was a key to understanding a fundamental spiritual truth.
Augustine's idea was this kind of beautiful theological mathematics. He said the answer starts with two core concepts of faith. On one side, you have the law, which he represented with the 10 Commandments, and on the other side, you have grace, represented by the 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit.
So what happens when you combine law and grace? You add 10 and 7, and you get 17. For Augustine, this was the secret number, the foundation for the whole puzzle. Remember that number, 17.
But here's where he pulls off this absolute masterstroke. Augustine knew about a mathematical concept called a triangular number. He thought, what if you take our key number, 17, and you add up every whole number from 1 times all the way up to 17. So that's 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, and so on all the way to 17.
And when you do that math, what's the sum? You get exactly 153. It was perfect. For Augustine, this number symbolized the complete, total sum of all people brought together by law and grace. A beautiful, self-contained piece of theological and mathematical art.
And you think, okay, case closed, right? That's incredible. But the story doesn't stop there, not even close, because this is where the mystery takes a wild turn. If we step away from theology for a second and just look at the number itself, it turns out 153 isn't just symbolic, it's mathematically weird, like really weird. Get this. 153 belongs to a very rare and exclusive club of numbers called narcissistic numbers. Now, the definition sounds a little complicated, but trust me, when you see it in action, it's just so elegant and cool.
Here's how it works. You take the digits of 153, that's a 1, a 5, and a 3. Since there are 3 digits, you cube each one. So 1 cubed is just 1, 5 cubed is 125, and 3 cubed is 27. Now add those results together. 1 plus 125 plus 27 equals 153. The number is literally the sum of its own parts. It just loops back on itself. How wild is that?
Okay, so we've got the mythology and we've got some seriously weird math, but hold on, because there's a third layer to this ancient detective story, and this one involves a linguistic code.
See, in the ancient world, in languages like Hebrew and Greek,
The alphabet did double duty. Letters weren't just letters, they were also numbers. This practice is called gematria, and it was a way for clever writers to embed hidden numerical meanings and codes right into the words of the text itself.
So what happens when we apply this ancient code? Well, someone had the brilliant idea to check the Hebrew phrase for sons of God, which is B'nai Ha-Elohim. If you take the numerical value for each and every letter in that phrase and add them all up, the total comes to, are you ready for this? Exactly 153. Suddenly, the catch of fish isn't just about fish anymore. It's a living metaphor for gathering the sons of God.
All right, if you thought that was cool, you need to buckle up for this next one, because this is the connection that is just absolutely stunning. We have to rewind the clock way back to a prophecy in the Old Testament book of Ezekiel. The prophet has a vision of a restored world where fishermen will one day spread their nets between two very specific places, a place called En-Gedi and another called En-Eglaim.
So what happens when we run those two ancient place names from that prophecy through our gematria code breaker? The numerical value for the name En-Gedi in Hebrew is 17, and the numerical value for En-Eglaim, it's 153. I mean, no way. The ancient prophecy itself contained the exact 17 to 153 mathematical relationship that St. Augustine would independently discover centuries and centuries later. That connection is just mind-blowing.
All of these clues are just incredible, layers upon layers. But there's one final piece to this puzzle, and this one comes from a modern scholar. He suggests that this number isn't just a symbol in the story, but it's actually a key to the hidden structure of the entire book.
A scholar named Richard Bauckham went through the original Greek text of John's Gospel and just started counting words, and he found something amazing. The Greek word for sign, which is used for Jesus' miracles, appears exactly 17 times. Then he counted 3 of the most important words that summarize the whole point of the book: believe, Christ, and life. And the total number of times those 3 words appear? You guessed it, 153.
Think about what this means. The exact same 17 to 153 pattern is literally woven into the vocabulary, the very fabric of the book. It's as if the story of the fish at the very end is a secret signature from the author, a final, tiny little model that reflects the design of the whole masterpiece. So, which theory is the right one? Is it Augustine's theology, the weird math, the gematria, the prophecy, the literary structure? Well, the beautiful thing about the 153 fish is that they're probably all true. This isn't about finding one single correct answer. This number is a nexus point, this incredible spot where theology, mathematics, linguistics, and prophecy all converge into one stunning, multi-layered symbol.
The real takeaway here isn't just one definition. It's that feeling of profound wonder. The idea that a single, seemingly random number in an ancient story could hold so many intricate layers of meaning, all at the same time. And that really leaves us with one final thought. If this one number can contain all of that, what other small, seemingly insignificant details all around us are just waiting to reveal their own epic hidden stories? What else are we missing?